I've tested over 100 AI music tools, and let me tell you, most of them are completely useless. But a few of them are insanely good. So good, in fact, they've completely transformed the way I make music. Today, I'm breaking down the AI music tools that I actually use as a professional music producer that all make making music easier, faster, way more fun. Let's get started. I've broken down this video into various sections depending on the type of AI music tool that I'm using. You can find and go to any of those sections using the chapter markers below. The first one on the list is called Backbone, and it's an AI music sampler from the company that makes Cubase, Steinberg. Backbone works by using AI to generate drum samples. Check this out. You can click this slider here, click new, and then you already have a sample. You can even use this slider to get different types of sounds, like a cymbal. You can use these knobs and you can even randomize the amounts by doing this, and you can get some really interesting results for your drum sounds. I also appreciate that it has a pitch, filter, amp, and even a resynth model that you can add in to change your sound even further. Let me make a quick drum beat only using Backbone to show you what it sounds like. Here's the beat that I made. Let's move on to the next plugin, which is called Samplet.io. Samplet is about finding samples rather than just creating them from AI, but it uses AI to filter through all of YouTube's music database to find some things that no one has ever heard before, and it's got some really cool tools to use with it. What you do is you hit filters here. You can filter by genre, style, even time period or region. You can also filter by views. Let's set a max of 50,000 views to make sure that not a lot of people have seen it. Put the genre of, I was actually just maybe a funk and soul track, and maybe let's get a funk and soul track from Cuba. The max of 50,000 views. We'll hit apply and we'll see what comes up. We're gonna hit random and it will find something for us. Every single song that you've already gone through can be gone back to. You can even favorite them. I love this app. I love this app. If I'm creating any kind of beat with a sample, I go through here, I find the parts that I want to, and I find some stuff that no one's ever sampled before, spin it and make it your own. Now let's get on to the next AI music tool. The tool itself is called playphrase.me, and all you have to do is type in a word or phrase that you want to find, and it will search movies that have that dialogue in the scene. So if I search the phrase "let's go," it will come up with movies that say that exact dialogue. So
his teeth into something he never lets go.
Perfect. This is a paid service if you want to get more than 5 movies, but some phrases have hundreds of movies. It's a really cool thing that you can use, but also just for throwing in some dialogue before drop. And the last AI music tool for samples that I like to use is called XO by XLN Audio. It organizes the samples by type and into colors. For example, I can go here, click the arrows on my keyboard, find a kick drum that is really satisfying to me. I can even hover, hold down my mouse. I can also do the same. I can find all my sticks. I can find my hi-hats. I can find my effects, my cymbals, my claps, etc., etc. Especially since I have over 8,000 samples in my sample library, I find that this helps me save a ton of time. So those are some great AI tools for sampling, but now let's move into some AI vocal changers. I will also say that this vocal changer category of AI music tools is probably one of the most saturated that I've come across. There are a lot of tools out there that are doing something very similar. And the first website that I want to show you is called weights.gg, which lets you use a bunch of different artist profiles as trained vocals to change your voice. This is me singing originally, but then changed with this AI algorithm to sound like the artist in question.
Go on, I'm still driving down this road.
Pretty good. Let's hear Adele.
Go on, I'm still driving down this road.
Pretty good. Let's hear Bruno.
Go on, I'm still driving down this road.
Pretty damn good. Check out what mine sounds like.
Go on, I'm still driving down this road.
Pretty close, man. Pretty close to the original artist. Now, keep in mind that using sites like this, please get the permission of whoever you're trying to recreate. I don't know much about the legality of all of this, but just know that you can't use Bruno Mars's voice and then monetize it on Spotify. Just don't do that. That's ethically bad. Bad, bad, bad. If you are planning on releasing some music, there is another website that I'd recommend. Audimee is a paid service, but it has some royalty-free vocalists that sound really good. Just like what was done with my voice on Bruno Mars and Adele, you can do the same for some royalty-free artists so that you can actually monetize them or put them on Spotify and not have to worry about copyright. Check out what Blake sounds like.
To break down the garden gate. There's not much time left today.
Pretty damn good. To be completely honest, I don't use this service. I mostly just sing the stuff that I write. But if you're not a vocalist, this could be a good tool for you. But let me tell you, by far the best algorithm for actually using these AI vocalists is called SVC. This is more complicated than the previous version, but it's actually the code that goes behind a lot of these websites anyways. There are a couple of projects going out there, but the one I'd recommend you checking out is called Apolio. You can find it at apolio.org. You can also find them on GitHub. When you get there, you can go to the Google Collab, which is the UI. You can run each part of your code here. You can put in your own voice. You could put in your own trained vocal, which you'll have to find online, and then you can use it to get your own results. I'm not going to dive into this. I just want to introduce this to you. It's more complicated. There are some great tutorials out on the YouTubes that you can use to do this, but I want to introduce it to you. Those three methods are the ones I'd recommend for AI vocal changers. But now let's get into AI stem separators. When I first started with stem separation, I used LALAL.AI, but now there are a lot better tools and more convenient tools. If I'm going for something that's quick and dirty, I'll use the built-in tools of either FL Studio or Logic Pro. Everything and all of these websites are generally based on the same type of open source code that's available out there on the internet. You can download this open source code to use for yourself and actually get some really great stem separation. The main open source library that I found for using this is called UVR, which stands for Ultimate Vocal Remover. You can find it on GitHub here, and you can download the included software completely for free. The reason I think Ultimate Vocal Remover works so well is because you can choose the processing method here. And for the processing method, I recommend using ensemble mode. Ensemble mode will take all of the algorithms that you're using, average them together to get the best results from each one. Now, when you are choosing these models, this tool also lets you get way more detailed than you might otherwise, especially when you have the main stem pair. You can do vocals, instrumental, drums, no drums, bass, no bass, four stem, ensemble, etc. You can also use the quality of these are going to be. Now, to get the most out of this, to get the best result possible, you're going to want to choose multiple models so that this ensemble mode can work. You can get more models by clicking on this wrench here, going to Download Center, and then clicking each individual model that you want. You can click on VR Arch and select any of these. After doing some research online, it seemed like this particular model seemed to work really well for getting isolated vocals from delay, reverb, chorus, noise, as well as instrumental. I'll download some of the ones it recommends here using this flowchart. Okay, I'm gonna go for max spec and max specs. I'll go GPU conversion. I'm gonna choose multiple of these models, just like what was recommended by the actual thing itself. And we'll click start processing. This can take a little bit of time if you have an older computer, but afterwards, the results are well worth it. And once it's complete, it will give you a folder, one with the vocals, one with the instrumental. Let's drag these in and compare them to the actual vocal track itself, just vocal, and the actual instrumental to see how close it did. So here's just the vocal by itself. Pretty clean. Let's hear what the actual instrumental sounded like by itself. Sounds a little bit better. There's some of that background sample vocal that I used throughout the entire track, messed around with it a little bit too much. If I'm ever needing to split audio in the best way possible or to try to get the best sound, I'm going to be using this. But now let's move on to the AI MIDI generators. One of the most exciting things, at least for me, when I started hearing about AI was the thought of it being able to create a really good melody or a really cool chord progression. This first one is called ChordChord.com, and it's one that I use with a lot of my beginning music students as they're learning about music theory. You can change the BPM, you can change the key down here without having to do anything else. And then you can see the chords will automatically change with the key. You can click on any of these by themselves to hear what they sound like, or you can click on the edit button to choose a bunch of different chords. It will load in some chords that it suggests: E minor 7, F sharp minor, and then you can go from there. So you can hear D. It's really cool. There is a paid option, and if you do pay for it, you can export all of the MIDI that you're using. That could be for the drum kit, that could be for the chords themselves. Even if you don't pay for it, you can just figure out what a D chord is, an F sharp minor chord is, etc. Put it into your DAW and go from there. Another plugin that I would recommend, especially if you're starting out and looking for something to help you make chord progressions, you can use what's called Landr Composer. It does something very similar. You can create melodies, you can create arpeggios, you can create bass lines, or even chords. The thing about this one is it's only a paid subscription. To be completely fair, I don't often use MIDI AI tools because I just think of the chords myself. However, if you're just starting out, this could be a really good tool for you to use. If you're not looking to pay that monthly subscription fee, which I totally understand, there are some other alternatives that you can use. One of them is a MIDI pack that I've come up with myself called Mattie's MIDI. Instead of paying for Chord Chord month per month, you can just use Mattie's MIDI and drag and drop over 50 different chord progressions into your MIDI and start working with them. All of them them are in C major, and they're designed to just get you started with some really good outlines for a song. The pack is really designed more for beginners or intermediate students who don't yet have a good grasp of music theory or know how to make chord progressions that sound really good or spicy by themselves. If that sounds like you, go check it out in the link below. I promise you it's going to help you make songs way faster. Let's move on from the AI MIDI type tools into AI plugins. The first AI plugin I want to talk about is a AI plugin called Clear. Clear denoises, de-ambiances a voice so that it can sound way more clean. Check it out. Here's a performance that I recorded of myself the other day, and there's some piano leakage going on in the voice.
It makes me green.
You can hear that piano going on in the background. I was playing the piano live, so it makes sense that the mic picked it up. What if I want to isolate the vocals so that I can process them a little bit better? Well, I can use Clear. Check it out. Just using these knobs, it's super easy to lose, which is one reason I really like it. Check it out.
You don't care where you sleep. It makes me
It's like I recorded it in the studio. And after cleaning up the vocals, this leads me into my next batch of AI plugins that I think are really cool. And they're from a company called Sonible. What's really cool about Sonible and all their plugins is you can play the actual audio itself, it will analyze it, and then we'll develop a personalized, in this case, reverb tail that sounds realistic. Check it out with nothing, with both of these.
It makes me green.
It's really cool what this smart reverb's able to do. Brings me on to my next AI plugin, which I use all the time, which is Ozone by Izotope. It does something similar to Sonible. If you click here and play your song, it will analyze what's going on in your song and then add what it thinks it needs to have a professional sound. It added this EQ here, it added a stabilizer, it added an impact or changed the dynamic impact of each individual frequency band, a stereo imager, dynamic EQ, and then most importantly, the limiter itself. Now I will say that oftentimes I find Ozone to be a bit brighter than what I like to listen to. So I like to turn these down. I also like, in this case, we don't have any bass. That's why it's boosting this really low frequency. It's just a piano and voice in this case. So take this with a grain of salt. It's also really good for identifying frequency spots with the dynamic EQ, adding in some stereo width with the imager. All of that is going to make your mix sound that much better. Okay, that's it for AI music plugins. Now let's move into a other AI tools category. The first is ChatGPT. Especially as you're learning music production, you can ask it a bunch of questions to figure out things about producing itself. And you can see here that it's giving you some good actionable things that you can do on your compression for your vocals without having to know anything at all. You can also use it to brainstorm content for your next music release. Maybe you can tell it, give me 10 content ideas to help me promote my new song. There is a competitor that is open source and free called DeepSeek that has been recently released. It's made a lot of headlines recently, but in my testing so far, ChatGPT tends to do better in creative tasks, which I have it doing more often. And the next app that I'll recommend as an other type AI music tool would be Midjourney. Midjourney is fantastic for creating realistic type photos. And when people ask me what I'd recommend for an AI tool to generate album art, this is what I always recommend to them. You can use this for album art cover inspiration. If you have an idea in your head, this can be good to send to an actual artist itself so that they can get a sense of what you're actually looking for. But check this out. An album art cover of a Volkswagen bus flying into the sky under a rainbow cartoon. It spit this out in, I don't know, 20 seconds. If I want to, I can just click this refresh and we'll get another one. But already that would be a pretty cool album art cover. Now it's time to go over some of the AI music tools that will create full AI generated songs. When people ask me if I'm worried that AI is going to take over my job as a music producer, these are the websites that scare me the most. But they're not quite to the quality of music that the best of the best are releasing in the world. I use both of these websites for more than anything else, inspiration. I'm not creating any AI music and then giving it to clients. It's just obviously AI to me. The first website I want to bring to your attention is called Suno.ai or Suno.com. What I like to do is just go to the front page and listen to some of the trending music, because listening to this music, it was created by AI. There are parts of it that you can use for your own music. A really cool idea. The other one that I use is called Udio. You can get some cool results. Just like ChatGPT or another AI tool, you can give it some good prompts and it will give you back some fully created song. For this prompt, I gave it create a song that is an autobiography of a dollar in the style of bluegrass, indie folk, and Americana. And check out this one. These other three weren't as good, but this was my favorite.
Started in the mint, fresh and clean, passed from hand to hand, living the dream.
Obviously AI instruments. You can hear a lot of artifacts going on with the instruments themselves and even the voice. There are some weird sounds going on that gives it away as AI. But if you can take that idea, you can take those chords, take that feel and that rhythm and then put it to your own song, why not? why not? I think that that's totally fair. That's exactly what I use Suno and Udio for, is that inspiration, and hopefully it can do the same for you. All right, so those were some of the AI tools that I use that actually work, and to be honest, they've changed the music production game for me. If you found this helpful, do me a favor, hit the like button. That will help get this out to more music producers to show them some of these tools. And if you want to level up your music production even more, go check out my MIDI chord pack, Mattie's MIDI. You can save yourself that monthly subscription fee and get a ton of chord progressions to get your song started right away. Link is in the description. And if you are looking for even more tools and recommendations to level up your setup, I made a video of the 15 best audio plugins for free of all time right here.